When I bought it, it was in a good shape and I spent several million getting all apartments renovated. The rent wasn't increased for any of the tenants and I made sure that it never went up by more than $50 a year for lease renewals, baked into the leases. Shortly after all the renovations were completed, I started the search for a property management company and ultimately settled on one that seemed well aligned with wanting to put the tenants first. As we were doing the contracts, I had my real estate friend also look at them. Between him and my lawyer, they recommended having a clause added in there. The short of it is, if there are any legal actions brought up against me for the apartment complex due to neglect of the property management staff, the property management will be responsible for all those costs and any legal fees incurred. This wasn't added in secret, and the legal team from the property management company agreed and everything was finalized. They took over the management of the complex a month later. I was fairly hands-off and only visited the site every 3 to 4 months. Other than that, I'd have the monthly updates sent to me by the manager on site. A few months ago, I found out that a couple of the apartments had been left in severe shambles after the tenants moved out, and the cleaning crew we had took care of it. I didn't find out until after the fact that it was not completely accurate because one of the apartments apparently had a bad roach infestation in the storage closet outside the apartment. After the new tenants moved into that apartment, they brought up the issue to the site manager. In the monthly reporting, the site manager claimed that maintenance staff tried to address with it traps and bug bombs. I didn't think too much of it and left it at that. Next month, the same thing. And the third month, after receiving the monthly report, I called the site manager stating there is a reoccurring issue and I wanted it taken care of professionally at that point. The month's rent was waived for the tenants in that apartment, and they were put up at a hotel for a week while the issue was to be addressed. Once they returned to their apartment is when the issue started. The site manager, either by mistake or by negligence, didn't communicate with the exterminators the extent or the location of the infestation. Instead of the storage closet, the apartment was fumigated, and after that, the roaches made their way into other apartments in the same building and the nearest building, and the problem got so much worse. The same option was given to all the tenants in that building, waiving the month's rent and putting them up in a hotel for a week while the issue is addressed. They all took that offer up. However, one of the tenants decided to take legal action. While I wasn't happy about it, I understood where they were coming from, having their lives disrupted by something that should have been addressed properly to start. As we were midst negotiating with them during mediations, my lawyer reminded me of the clause with the property management company and suggested we give them what they want. That is where I started my nuclear revenge. I had the rest of the tenants from the 2 impacted buildings be suggested to anonymously that one of the tenants had filed a lawsuit for the damage and they should do the same by getting in on it. Through the mediation, I pretended to be outraged at the whole matter. The negotiation started at 3 months of free rent, but ultimately we all settled on 1 year of free rent for all those tenants. Overall, that came out to 16 apartments with rent averaging from $1,700 monthly that the property management had to pay for due to the negligence of the site manager, equaling to roughly $325,000 in just the lost rent they had to pay for. And the cherry on top, due to the breach in service for property maintenance, they also have to provide free services for up to 6 months while I seek out a new property management company, costing them an additional $146,000, and still pay for the legal fees on top of that. Site manager screwed with my tenants' homes, so I cost the property management company over $500,000 in damages, lost rent, and legal fees. I hate my property management company. Good. I also worked for a guy that did property management and I hated him too. I see why property owners use them, but they're mostly useless douches. I don't know enough about property management or I do it myself. I'm going to college again to become a therapist to be able to help people, or I'd spend the time to learn and do it myself. Several million, let's say 3, divided by 72 units times the $50 year rent increase, equals something like several hundred years to break even on the renovations from just the rent increase. Hopefully more maintenance will not be needed. Let's say the building was already fully owned. 3 million divided by the average rent of $1,700 by 72 units takes 2 years to break even, as long as you forget the management, property taxes, and other costs. 3 million spread across 72 units is like $42,000 per unit, so pretty significant renovations. A whole kitchen might be like $10,000, so these were all stripped down to the studs. So this 35 years old altruistic millionaire won't see any return on this money for at least a decade. That's a pretty nice guy. I forgot, the renovation was after purchasing the complex. The ROI will take a while. I think at that size a whole building can be constructed for an average cost per unit around $50,000, so it might have been cheaper to build new. Maybe construction prices inflated more than real estate this year. Right now, at the end, I get roughly $190K to $212K a year back. And that's fine enough. This is more for my daughter, so when she's old enough, her life is set. I don't want her to see the same struggles I did growing up. My parents had me working at 13 under the table to be able to afford a living. If it wasn't for them pushing me to do so, I wouldn't be where I am now.